We are back here in Inside the Ropes, and we are joined by one of last year's WrestleMania headliners, the Universal Champion. He had probably the best 5-minute match I've ever seen. It's Goldberg and one of this year's Hall of Fame inductees. Bill, great to talk to you again.
It was 8 minutes. It wasn't 5. So get your story right.
I got it wrong off the bat. I'm sorry. How are you?
No, it's all good, man. You know, anything over my usual 3.5-minute match is kind of like a marathon to my fans. So I'm doing great, man. Good to talk to you. It's been a whirlwind year. Obviously, we had a lot to talk about last time I saw you, and I was over there doing the little tour, and you know, man, it was a whirlwind for sure. But I kind of put that to the side a little bit again, like I did those 12 years, and now I'm full back into the television and movie area, and you know, here we are, 12 months after, you know, wishing to beat Brock Lesnar's ass, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But 12 months after, and I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it's hey man, it's just a continuation of the last year's comeback thing, I guess.
What's interesting to me is, you know, we did the tour in July, and you know, you were very open about, you know, any questions that you were asked. And in the 24 documentary that WWE put out, it really seemed that WrestleMania, it felt important to you. You could tell you said you were having fun for the first time. And because the thing is, you guys went on about 4 hours into that show when people had saw a lot of stuff, but the reaction when you guys had that match, because it was just boom, 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 boom. There was nothing slow in there. Where would you rank that match in terms of your career?
You know, you'd have to be more specific in what category, because, you know, as far as importance is concerned, it's number one. Let's just put aside everything else other than the fact it's the only one, or not the only one, the only WrestleMania that my family was able to view me in person, you know, doing my thing. So for that reason and that reason only, you know, it was a extremely important match. I mean, it could have been my last. I'm not going to say that it is by any stretch, because that's fatalistic, and I don't like to put you know, like a period at the end of the sentence, because it means I'm incapable of still doing it, which is nothing further from the truth, because as long as I can still pick up a golf cart and throw it over my head and, you know, have the desire to go in and spar with guys, you know, weekly, and when I see blurbs about guys in the business, you know, I still dream about spearing every one of them and headbutting them. So until those thoughts go out of my mind, I'm not gonna put a book note on anything. It's a weird deal, man. It's a weird deal. It's like I said, I'm getting older, and it's a natural progression for somebody who strives to be the best at what he does, and I'm honored and privileged to you know, be in this position. But I'd say the match from last year with Brock, I mean, it's definitely in my top 5 for sure. I mean, others were extremely defining in different ways. So it's in my heart, it's number one. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to compare them all, but it's definitely in the top 5.
And obviously, this year you go in the Hall of Fame. Can you talk us through a little bit about how you got the call to go in the Hall of Fame? There must have been a lot of emotion in that. And also, Paul Heyman being the man to induct you. Can you talk a little bit about both of those things?
Yeah, wrestling business, you know, unbeknownst to many of the smarks out there, there are still things that people don't know. Well, you know, Heyman and I have been friends for a long period of time. Our religion has a little bit to do with that also, because, you know, we kind of band together with our like kind in certain situations. And hey man, I don't know of any other Jewish guys that were the Universal Champion, the World Champion, and they're going into the Hall of Fame. And I don't know many other Jewish guys who have been as successful managers and, you know, figureheads and all the other things that Paul Heyman is good at. So we have had a long relationship. It's I respect him to the utmost degree as a human being and as a performer. There are others, no question, that came to the top of my mind, or came in my mind when I was thinking about who was going to induct me. But since this last run was so important, and it was so I don't want to say difficult, but it wasn't the easiest thing I've ever done, both mentally and physically, and he was there every step of the way. So, you know, if that's such a defining moment in my career, then, you know, I'd say it's not a far departure from a logical decision to the general public. You know, for me, I have my reasons, and there are still things that, you know, human beings should keep from other human beings. In this day of social media, so I will keep those to myself. You know, at the end of the day, man, he's a very close friend, and I think he's quite appropriate to induct me into the Hall of Fame. And at the end of the day, it's my decision. If anybody doesn't like it, they can kiss my big ass.
Well, I mean, you might not want to give this away, but I mean, it does seem like when you had that whole program with Brock Lesnar, it was every single segment was great, and you know, everybody. There was a lot of times people would say, you know, Paul Heyman's maybe got a hand to do with something like that. It seems like he must have creatively been kind of involved as well, because it was just from day one that angle just seemed to resonate with fans right through from Survivor Series till WrestleMania.
Well, it's logical that he would be Brock Lesnar's advocate. Okay, Paul Heyman. Traditionally, the position that he holds, you know, he's the mouthpiece for monsters. So who better to know what another monster is like and what is good for that monster than one who's doing it for one already. So, you know, there are certain people in the business that you refer to as being specialists for different type of characters. He may be a specialist for all of them, but at the end of the day, he's pretty damn good for big guys. And I like to bounce things off of him from time to time, and it still doesn't mean that I don't want to spear him every time I see him when we're inside of that ring, because that's my job as a character and as a professional, and sometimes as a human being. But you know, it is what it is.
And obviously, going into the Hall of Fame, it's, you know, I've followed your career for a long time. You've been a fan, you know, working a little bit in wrestling, and it was really cool to see that, like, you know, because for a long time, you know, you and the WWE were kind of separated. There maybe wasn't, you know, Christmas cards being sent all the time, but now, you know, you came back, you had this great run. You even saw in the documentary you and Vince seeming to really get on again, you and Hunter getting on. And now you're going in the Hall of Fame. How happy are you about that you're kind of getting to have this, I'm not going to call it an end point, because I know you've said that, but like, are you happy to have this moment where there's going to be a recognition for you and all the stuff that you've done in wrestling?
That's a really hard question, man, for me to answer, because I don't like accolades. Accolades to me are like ornaments. I don't do things for accolades. I don't do the military because I want people to think I'm a good guy. I do things because I want to do them, and I strive to be the best. If accolades come with it, then that's wonderful. I'm greatly appreciative to have been noticed for my body of work, but that's not why I do things. That doesn't define a person and will not define me. I am honored and privileged and surprised beyond anyone else that I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And as humble as I am, I don't ever believe that I deserve any accolades. But sometimes it's nice to sit back and go, hey, man, you know, I guess I must have done something right. You know, so I don't think for 2 seconds I'm demeaning it by any means. But, you know, it's not, hey, man, I don't need accolades to know that I'm giving my best. And I don't think that people should strive just for accolades. They should strive to reach their full potential. If they fall short, then it doesn't mean it wasn't a success. in a roundabout way, it's my humble way of saying I'm greatly appreciative of the honor.
And I just want to ask you a couple other things before we go. Obviously, we need to remember you are coming to Dublin on July 16th in Ireland. Coming over there, we're going to do another show. We're going to have more stuff to talk about, obviously, with the Hall of Fame. But I want to ask you a couple of questions about current wrestling. One of the big stories right now is last night in LA, there was the Andre the Giant documentary premiere, and Hulk Hogan was there. A lot of talk about maybe Hogan coming back to WWE. Would you like to see him come back in some sort of ambassador or on-screen role? Do you think that would be good for Hogan?
Well, I think to answer your question, yeah, it'd be great for Hogan. Would it be great for the business? Would it be great for the example they're trying to set? Hey, everybody deserves a second chance. Period. End of story. We all make mistakes. I think that in the end, the WWE is going to do what they feel is best, and in the end, I think that Hogan, wants redemption because he feels bad about what he said. He's not a bad guy. I don't know him, that well, but he's not a bad guy. Deep down inside, I don't think many of us are. On the outside, we may do things sometimes to label us, but it doesn't define us. So, hey. At the end of the day, like I said, everybody deserves a second chance. Each case is individually scrutinized, but in the end, WWE will do what they feel is best.
And there's another thing that's happening this year at WrestleMania, which I think is interesting and kind of is similar to you in some ways, because when you came back, I guess there was a lot of people saying, what's Goldberg going to be like in the ring? It's 12 years later, blah, 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 blah. And this year, The Undertaker is coming back after a year off, and it seemed last year like maybe The Undertaker was retiring. He's coming back. What do you think about Undertaker coming back for one more match, coming back for the big match with John Cena?
I'm pissed off that it's not with me. That's what I think. But to remove myself from it and say that it's not about me. Taker has always been a big influence in my wrestling career. I've known him since, years before I got into the business. And if anybody knows when to hang him up, it's going to be him. And nobody can nobody can really tell you when to do it if you're realistic about it. It's hard as and I'm answering from the perspective of me looking at the same kind of decision. It's hard to finalize it, man. You always think that you can do it again, but you got to listen to your body, you got to listen to reality, and you got to look in the mirror. There are a lot of things to play into it, but like I said, no one knows but him. It's nice to have somebody objective looking from the outside in, giving you an opinion also that you can bounce it off of. But it's a hard decision, man. We'll see. I can't wait to see how he performs this year. And at the end of the day, I hope he's got one more left in him.
Well, it's funny because on the WWE 24 documentary that was filmed at WrestleMania last year, there was this really kind of emotional moment where Undertaker was kind of in his car going to the stadium, and he said, I don't want to be that guy that people say he used to be able to go. So it feels like if he was going to come back and do another one, he feels that he is able to do it.
Like I said, but at the end of the day, it's hard to, if you're that guy and you want to feel that rush, those emotions are going to sway your decision. So it's all your psyche when you're answering your own question. It's really hard when you make that statement to be realistic about it, because you always feel like you can give more, Yeah. So it's a tough deal.
And I've got to ask you, because you're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame on Friday night, but everybody's going to be wondering if on Sunday at WrestleMania, as well as walking out and taking that bow in front of the audience, do you have a spear plan for Sunday? Could you be talked into doing more at WrestleMania?
Depends on who the victim is. I can always be approached about doing something, but it depends. Just like Taker said, you got to know when to say when, and when the options aren't as logical as they were before, and the character may suffer, then you got to say when. When your body has had enough, you got to say when. So there are a lot of factors that play into me saying yes or no to something. But I'm a businessman, and I'm a person who also, can honestly say he loves the business, because in the beginning I didn't know it. I've experienced it throughout the years, and I've lived it, and I enjoyed it. And I ended up finally appreciating it, and the people who are in it, and the fans most importantly. And so, hey man, I'm in some serious shape, I ain't 285 or 290, but at the end of the day, it's tough to train a lot and then be asked the question and then go, no, it's you always think you can do more, right? You always, hey, if people tell you you're Superman all the time, you start thinking you're Superman.
Yeah. And
at the end of the day, who knows? We might be. But when Superman starts chewing on a little kryptonite daily, it's not an option anymore. Or it shouldn't be.
I guess we'll see on Sunday what you do, and obviously people can come and see you in Ireland and Dublin in July. And I for one hope that we do get to see some sort of spear on Sunday. So I hope you enjoy it.
Never know, Kenny. And hey, you never know, Kenny. And if you're out there close and they don't have me doing it for them, I may just give you one.
I mean, that may jeopardize our Dublin event, but sure, I can be hospitalized for 3 months. That's fine. Well, but
no, man, you got good insurance. I know you, Kenny, and I love you to death, man. And we have a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing you. And hey, the 16th of July in Dublin, man, I can't wait to go there.